Today we're going to do a spring floral scene using emphasis. And the reason why we are using emphasis is because emphasis is the third principle of design after balance and contrast. And emphasis just means when you create a focal point in your artwork or the area that you notice the most. So when we look at this spring floral scene, the first thing that our eye goes to is the colored part. It really jumps out at us because there is a stark contrast between the area that is colored and the negative space, the background space that is black and white. So you can use contrast to create emphasis. In order to do this project, what you're going to need is a blank piece of white paper. You're going to need a pencil, preferably with an eraser. You're also going to need a ruler. If you don't have a ruler, you can use any straight hard edge of a book or a notebook, but we're going to use a ruler to create a straight line. You're also going to need a black marker or Sharpie or felt tip pen to create the black outlines. And last but not least, for the area that's all colored in, you can use crayons, you can use colored pencils, whatever you normally use to color in, you can use that. All right, so in order to get started, the first thing that we're going to create is our kind of rectangular or square shape of the area on our page that we want to have be the colored area. So remember, if you have a ruler, you can take out your ruler and a pencil and find an area on your page, wherever. It can be different from the area that I chose, but somewhere where it's maybe not dead center in the middle. You could do that if you want to, but I'm going to put mine a little bit off and upward. It doesn't matter how large you make your rectangle or square, just as long as it's large enough that we can have something fill it and not just have it be super teeny tiny. Okay, so this one I'm making it a little bit narrower than the other one that I made, and that's okay. It doesn't really matter as long as I'm creating an area that is going to be my focal point to create the emphasis. Okay, so now that I have my focal point, that emphasis kind of targeted, I'm going to start drawing the details of my spring flower. Now, if you have a special way of drawing a flower of your own, go ahead. You don't have to make your flower the exact way that I make it, but I'm just going to show you how I'm making mine. So I want the center of my flower to be in my focal point so that I can really have a lot of emphasis. So anywhere in that rectangle is where we're going to put the middle of our flower. So anywhere within that area, maybe I'll have it slightly towards the top. I'm going to create like a circle or oval. That's going to be the middle of my flower. From that circle, I'm going to draw my petals coming off of it, going all around. Okay, so I'll start from any point on my circle. I can draw a curved line out, stop, and then a curved line going the other way back in and hitting that circle. Okay, I'm going to do that all the way around. It's okay if my petals go off the page. I don't really care. You can have yours go off the page, but we're going to make nice long petals so that I have a lot of space to add even more petals on the inside, which I'll show you in a second. All right, so I'm having the petals go out. Notice some of the petals went outside the box. That's okay. That will create more of a contrast between the area of the flower that's colored and the area that's not. So feel free to have your petals go outside that box. All right, so now I've done them all the way around. I'm going to maybe even add some petals in between the ones that I just drew to really bulk up my flower. So even in between the petals that went all the way around, create curved lines that go out that show petals that are even in between to really make our flower nice and bulky. There we go. All right, so now I'm going to start adding smaller petals on the inside. So starting at the bottom of each petal, I'm just going to make a smaller petal shape on the inside, going all the way around. Pretty easy to do. I'm sure you guys have drawn flowers before, so this shouldn't be new. All right, so even there, I'm gonna make even smaller petal shape on the inside of those petals that I just drew. So you might wanna make even smaller petals. And then going around my little circle, I'm just gonna draw teeny tiny little rounded petals. Awesome, cool. All right, so I have most of my flower done. Now I'm gonna do the stem and the leaves. So anywhere from underneath your flower, let's say my petal is, going over my stem, but I'm gonna start my stem here and I'm just gonna go down and it can end at the bottom of my page. That's totally fine, okay? From my stem, I want to start drawing my leaf, and I do want to try to have my leaf go somewhat inside that rectangle so I can show the color of the leaf inside that rectangle. So maybe I'll start on the side of my stem a little bit lower than the rectangle, but then I'm going to do a curved line up so that it goes inside that rectangle. Maybe it hits that petal but goes behind it, so I can create that little line behind it. And then I can have it kind of droop down. And that's going to be the end of my stem. The bottom of the stem, I can just do kind of a jagged line out and back to where I started on my stem. Okay, that's one leaf. I have a lot of room to even create another one. So maybe even lower than that leaf. I'm gonna do the same thing again. I'm gonna draw my curved line up, out, and maybe this time this leaf goes all the way down and hits the bottom of my page. Okay, so I'll create the other side of it going out and just a nice slightly jagged line to create that organic shape of my leaf. But then I have some space on this side and I kind of want it to be a little bit more balanced. Remember, balance was that first principle of design. So all my shapes are kind of on this side. I want something here to balance it out. So I'll put the other leaf on the other side, kind of in between them on the other side of my flower, just like that. And remember, it's okay that it goes off the page. You don't need to scrunch your leaf to fit inside the page. Let your lines go off. All right, so I have basically the main contour lines of my flower, leaves, and stem. I might even want to draw some things in the background, and it's kind of up to you what you want to add. Think of what a very spring-like scene would have. So I drew butterflies, but again, you can pick something else that would be in the air, like bees or a hummingbird or anything that you would want to add. I'm just going to show you how I did my butterfly. So anywhere where I wanted my butterfly, I just made a little dot for the head. I made a little line going down below that dot for its body, however long you want it to be. If you want it to be small butterfly, you make it very small. And then off of one side, I do a curved line out, and then kind of a curved line in, out again a little bit, and back in. I'll do that to the same on the other side. Okay, then for the part of the wing that goes below, I just, from the kind of middle bottom of that one wing, I go out and curve back in, back to the body. Same with the other one. Curve out, back into the body. There we go. Very simple. I might even put another butterfly here. This one I have a little bit more space, so I can make it a little bit larger. So I'll do a larger head. Maybe I want this one to be tilted, so the body I can even put at a diagonal line. Up to you. And then from that area where the head meets the body, I'm just going to do a curved line up and out, slightly in, but then out again and back in. That's the top wing. And maybe I'll do, for the second bigger top wing, I'm gonna just do a curved line out and coming back down, just hits the head. And then for that bottom part of the wing, somewhere in the middle bottom of that larger wing, I'm just gonna do a curved line and then a longer curved line out and comes back to the body. And I can do even another one parallel to that. Beautiful. So now that I have all of my things, oh, I almost forgot. If you would like, you can also draw clouds in the background. So maybe in any area where it looks like there's space, I'm just gonna draw some kind of jagged or scalloped lines to show clouds. There we go. Amazing. All right, now that I have everything drawn in pencil, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to outline everything in my black marker. The only thing that I'm not going to outline in the black marker is my rectangle. Keep that in pencil. Don't outline this rectangle in your marker, and I'll explain why when we get to coloring. Okay, so everything you are gonna outline in marker except that rectangle. So I'm going to go into warp speed to show you what you need to do to outline everything except that rectangle in marker. Okay, I outlined all of my contour lines of my flower, of my leaves, of my stem, butterflies, clouds. The only thing I did not outline was that rectangle. Okay, now before we go on to coloring, I want to add some texture to my flower and my leaves. Remember, texture is an element of art, and texture means the way that something feels or the way that something looks like how it feels. So I want to add some implied texture to my flower to make it a little bit more realistic. So starting with that circle, towards the bottom of that circle, I'm just going to take my black marker and make a couple of dots towards the bottom. See, that gives my center a little bit of the texture. I also, in my petals, might make just some light lines that are coming off of that center and going outward. Okay, so just adding just some sort of texture lines to your petals. And then once you have just some texture lines of your petals, let's add some texture lines of our leaves. And the thing with leaves is that even the veins of the leaves, we can see, has texture. And depending on the way that the leaf is bending, the contour lines of those veins go in the direction of the way that it's bending. Do we see that? So for these leaves, you're just going to take your marker, go very lightly, go in the same direction as that top line. You're almost making them kind of parallel. And then as it goes down, they might become a little bit similar to the one at the bottom. There we go. All right, let's do the same to this bottom leaf. Just very lightly making some light lines going in the same direction as the outline of your leaf. There we go. Cool. And let's do one more right here. Same direction. Excellent. All right, cool. Now that we have everything outlined, let's get to the coloring part. But remember, we are only coloring within that rectangle that we made. Okay, so no coloring outside of the rectangle. We're going to keep all the color inside the rectangle. Now, that seems pretty easy, but remember, when you get to coloring, it's very easy to go, uh-oh, and go outside the lines. So, if you are coloring, my recommendation for you is that if you know what color you want your petals to be, say I want my petals to be pink. My recommendation for you is to take that pink crayon and wherever your petals are hitting that rectangle, take that crayon, whatever you're going to color in the petals, and go ahead and outline the rectangle in the color that you're going to color in those petals. If the petals are hitting, there we go, the rectangle, you're just going to go all the way around so I know I'm coloring within this area. Wherever that it's not the petals, okay, so this area looks like the sky, I'm going to skip that for now. Only in the area where there's petals. Oh, this is sky, so I'm going to skip. This is not my petals, not my petals, not my petals. Ah, petal. So I'm just going to finish that off. Okay, if you know what color you are going to create or you're going to color in your leaves and stem, you can also use a crayon anywhere where the leaf or the stem hits that rectangle. You can use that colored crayon. I'm using green, a light green, and I'm outlining my rectangle. Okay, wherever that leaf hits it, or the stem. So it's hitting it there, there, there. Also, awesome. So I see in the area where I didn't color yet is where my sky is. So I'm gonna take whatever color I'm coloring in the sky, and wherever it hits that rectangle, I'm just coloring or outlining the rectangle in that color. Now my cloud technically would be kind of white in real life, but since I want to make a lot of stark contrast, instead of my dark blue, I'm going to use like a turquoise to color it in. So I'm just going to switch that, and there. Now I have my rectangle outline, so I know not to go outside the line. However, just in case you accidentally, when you are coloring in, if you do go outside the lines, let's say I was like, oh no, I colored outside my rectangle. No worries, because we did it in pencil and the rectangle is not too dark. What I can do is I can just extend that rectangle. I'm just going to extend it out to include the area that I accidentally colored in. If I accidentally colored in, I'm just going to extend that rectangle and all is okay in the world. I'm just going to extend that rectangle out to include that area. Again, if you don't make a mistake, congratulations, but just in case you do make a mistake, remember you can extend that rectangle, no big deal, and just color in the area that's inside that rectangle. Okay, so now that I have my rectangle kind of outlined, even though I made a mistake, I'm gonna start coloring this in. Again, you can use whatever colors you want to color in your flower. Does not matter, does not have to look like mine. However, remember, we're keeping the color of the flower inside that rectangle. So that means I'm going to, wherever I'm coloring my petal, I'm stopping where the rectangle ends. So right here, I'm gonna stop where my rectangle ends there. I'm gonna continue, stop where my rectangle ends there, etc. So trying to keep all my colors of my petals inside that rectangle because we extended that rectangle out to accommodate that mistake. I'm coloring all the way to the edge of my new rectangle edge. Okay, so you can color in the petals. You can color in the stem. You can color in the area of the leaf that's inside that rectangle. Okay, you can color in, if you added a sky, you can color in the sky inside that rectangle. but stopping right where that rectangle ends, just like that. And even with, if you added a cloud and it's in that rectangle area, remember you can color it in another color. Try to keep it a color, not just white. So I used turquoise to color it in, etc. Maybe my smaller petals on the inside, I want to jazz it up a bit and pick a different color, and that's okay too. So maybe I want some of my smaller petals to be magenta. But remember, I'm staying within that rectangle to color it in. And then once I have kind of my inner smaller petals, one color, maybe I'll even make the ones that are really teeny tiny a completely separate color. I really like this orange. Maybe I'll make them orange. Again, you can color in your flowers, petals, any colors that you would like, but remember, keep your colors inside that rectangle to create the emphasis. All right, last but not least, there's the middle of my flower. Wow, look at that. All of a sudden, if you look at this picture, our eyes go immediately to the colored part because it is definitely the focal point, definitely has emphasis because of the color contrast between color and black and white. Well, friends, I hope you had fun creating your own emphasis flower scene, and I can't wait to see yours.